I think we're live. We're a little bit late. The war was lost, and so here we are with the consolation prizes. So now, welcome to Utah GOP event night. We have some candidates here for office. I think they know what they've been traveling around. I think they know what they're in store for. Some of them are former officers. Some of them are not. So without further ado, let's just go down the line here and introduce yourself. And then we'll come back, and I would like you to take 2 to 3 minutes and give your campaign stump speech to begin with, and then we'll go from there, okay? So, Chadwick.
My name is Chadwick Fairbanks.
Okay. Do you have a Chadwick Fairbanks?
Okay. Derek Brown. I'm running for chair.
Hi, Aaron Starks. I'm running for vice chair.
Hi, Kara Berkman. I'm running for vice chair as well.
I'm Lisa Shepard. I'm running for secretary.
I'm Kendra Seeley, and I'm running for secretary.
I'm Mike Bird, and I'm running for treasurer.
Okay, great. Now that we know everybody, the order is actually a reverse speaking order. I came up with that on the fly, so there's no preconceived ideas of who's going to get a little bit more time to answer the questions as I ask them. But Chadwick, your stump speech.
So, Rob, thank you for that introduction. The relative newcomer here to the Utah political scene, started the Utah Republican Veterans Caucus with Lisa Shepard and some other veterans in the state because they didn't have an official voice inside the party. We wanted to rectify that. That also puts me on as a member of the State Executive Committee and the State Central Committee. So I've been participating the last year or so. Some of my background is a lot of military intelligence, working for the federal government. And that's kind of what got me involved in politics initially was having worked inside the government, there was kind of an impetus of seeing what was broken, what was wrong. It inspired me to have a greater part in local civics. And so that's why I've been participating the last year. And that's why I was also inspired to run for state party chair.
Great. Thank you. Derek.
Great, thank you. Derek Brown, running for chair. One of the reasons I'm running is because I'm a conservative. I believe in conservative principles. And I campaigned as a conservative. I won elected office here in Salt Lake County, actually. I beat an incumbent Democrat. And I beat an incumbent Democrat with the help of all of my delegates. And to this day, that area is still Republican. And I later worked for Senator Mike Lee as his state director. And I'm running because I want us as a party to focus on winning elections and focus specifically on what it is a party does. There have been a lot of trends the last few years in which we've seen states surrounding Utah that have gone from red to blue almost overnight. Nevada's party has had all sorts of internal problems, and they've switched from red to blue. Colorado went from red to blue almost overnight, and part of it was because they had out-of-state money that came into their state to drive voter turnout. And those are the kinds of things we're seeing here in Utah. And so my goal is to help us to focus on elections, to reach out to younger Republicans, particularly those who are unaffiliating in greater and greater numbers, and give them a reason to be Republican. So that's why I'm running.
Great. Thanks, Derek. Aaron.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, I'm Aaron Starks. It's a pleasure to be with all of you who will tune in here shortly. You know what? It's very simple. Like Derek, I'm running because I want to focus on growth. The party exists to do 3 fundamental things. The first is to identify talent. The second is to develop talent. The third is to place that talent into positions of governance in the state. And for us to be successful as a party, we have to be doing those things very well. Unfortunately, we've lost some big races the past year or so. So as a party, I would like for us to get back to these fundamentals. Fundraising is going to be key in that. We can't promote candidates. We can't adequately support them. And we can't invest in internal operations unless we're solvent. And so that's one of the big things that I'm going to bring to the party. I was hired 6 years ago by Frank and Covey to grow a business in Asia. In 6 years, we're now a multi-million-dollar company, and we built it from the ground up. Hired 85 people, and we're in 17 countries doing really well. I've been involved past 6 years in various capacities. I helped Nolan Karras when I was very young, campaign against Governor Huntsman. Later helped Governor Huntsman in various ways. I worked at the Salt Lake Chamber of Commerce, helping put volunteers in Utah's classrooms. Education has been a huge part of my life, and that's what I do now, is seek to improve the education system in Asia. I've run campaigns. I've worked for Rob Bishop in Washington, D.C., and I was able to get a Republican in office here in Salt Lake, here on the city council. And so I've been involved with campaigns. I know what it takes to get a candidate to win. I'm excited to roll up my sleeves and help us start winning again.
Great, thank you, Aaron. Kara.
I'm Kara Berkland. I am currently the vice chair of the party, and I'm running for re-election. I have been married for almost 18 years. My husband and I, we have 6 kids. I'm a part-time preschool teacher, and I referee high school basketball part-time as well. 8 years ago, I got involved. I ran at caucus night to be a county delegate. The next time around, I ran to be a state delegate. Since then, I've been a state central committee member, the Morgan County vice chair, Morgan County's chair. I served as a national delegate to the RNC in Cleveland. And then again, currently I'm the vice chair of the party. Why I'm involved and why I want to run for this position at this time is because the party, its platform, its people, they matter to me. When I was the vice chair of Morgan County, I realized that there was so much potential that we weren't getting to. So I ran for chair, I won. We started working with our candidates, teaching them how to run for office. We started teaching classes to everybody in the community who wanted to come about the platform, what Republicans can do in our community, what the changes are, so that everyone knew if you were a Republican in Morgan County and you were running because you were limited government, you wanted traditional family values, and you wanted low taxes. And Morgan County has always had really good representation, I feel, on the council. All of our elected officials are excellent, in my opinion. As a vice chair, we've worked on get out the vote drives. We've held trainings to make sure that the candidates feel supported, so that people who want to get involved and be more involved in the county and statewide politics know how to do that, feel supported. And the biggest thing for me, having served as a foster parent for 8 years in our state, we have a lot of youth that need guidance and direction, and they're not sometimes getting it from home. They're not getting the help that they need. And I believe with all my heart, the Republican Party, its values, its platform, is what we need to help keep America the great state that it is. And we have to focus back on our youth. Our teenage Republicans and college Republicans should be our top priority, and that's a big goal to me.
Thank you, Kara. Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Shepard. First, thank you, Rob, for serving, and good luck in what you're doing in the future. And it's been an honor and a pleasure to serve the Republican Party. I have actually been involved, I'm in my 27th year, and some people say, you know, did you start when you were 5? And I'm like, no, I'm a little bit older than that, and I'm going to tell you how right now. So today, my husband and I are celebrating 35 years of marriage, and we have 6 children, and he let me come here tonight. We have 6 children, they're all adults, and I actually have one of my children, she has been elected a precinct chair. So she's going to carry on our tradition and going in the future. So when we speak of youth, I've been raising those youth, and I also have had the opportunity, I went back to school in 2013, and I became a college Republican, and I helped in the college Republicans, and I spread the word in this school, there we go, in the school, about what being Republican is. It was a great pleasure. I was an adjunct instructor as well, and having a relationship with college students is essential, and I know how to do that because I have those relationships. And the reason that I'm running again is because I think that there's some ways that we can improve our processes. And I think that's critical for a secretary to be able to help with those things. We've had a struggle for a couple years trying to get some things through. And honestly, people like to blame the state party for losses, but I'm going to say, what about our wins? We've had incredible wins. It's difficult when we don't have funding. We haven't had the funding to have a professional communications director and a political director. We need that funding. So I request that every one of us, every Republican out there, send $1 to the state party or more, and $1 to your county party. And let the party start to fund our candidates again. And that's part of the reason that I want to run, and I want to be able to help be a part of that. The items that I've been able to accomplish while I've been secretary for 3 years, we'll have that conversation either later on in the message or I'll talk to you personally. So my website is lisamshepard.info. So visit for some more information.
Thank you, Lisa. Kendra.
So my name's Kendra Seeley, and I'm running for secretary. Just to tell you a little bit about me, I'm from Price, out in rural Utah, and I've been the county chair out there in Price for the past 4 years. And during that time, Carbon County flipped from a blue county to a red county, and that was a big deal for my community. And we started in Carbon County with 1 commissioner getting elected, And then we slowly built up, and all of our elected officials are Republicans now, which is huge. And part of the reason why I'm running is because we've had a lot of division in the party lately, and we need to get back to the basics, getting good Republicans elected, promoting our conservative values, and stop with the infighting and move on to the basics of the party. The secretary's role is pretty well defined. She or he is in charge of minutes and agendas and keeping the party really organized, which is some of my strengths. And I want to bring the skills that I've used in getting good results in Carbon County to the state level to help other counties. I think that county parties need access to all of the resources that the party has so that they can do their job in getting their candidates elected. And if I'm elected secretary, that's one of my major goals, is to make sure that our county parties have every resource available to them. And that's why I'm running. It's an honor to be here with all of these strong, good people, and you really have some hard choices ahead of you, but hopefully you'll support me.
Thank you, Kendra. Michael, most difficult campaign ever? Go ahead.
Well, I'm excited to run. I guess I needed to run, or there might be an open seat. So I'm excited to run for treasurer. I'm from Murray, Utah here. Been married to my wife, Kim, for 10 years now, and we have 3 boys, all under 4, and 1 on the way in June. So that'll be 4 under 5. So definitely gets pretty busy. One of the things I've actually loved, why I'm here and running, I have some ideas. I've been involved in the caucus process for quite some time. Had a chance to train a lot of students to get involved. A lot of them went on to be delegates, state delegates, county delegates, and just seeing their involvement now has been something I've kind of appreciated and thought that it would be a great thing to get involved. I actually have been going around, and it's been more of a take a step back and look at all these amazing candidates and see who would I like to work with, and who has a vision for the party, and what direction are we going to go. And one of the things that I've appreciated most is seeing that we do need to focus on certain things that we have kind of lost focused on, and that is strengthening the caucus system. We care about it. Delegates that I've met care a lot about it and want this to be the avenue of being vetted and ultimately becoming elected. And there's no question that this is the grassroots up and one of the best systems that we have nationally. And some of the things that we need to do to strengthen that is we need to be able to unite ourselves and understand that, you know, the outside donors that will donate to us will trust us, that we're going to spend the money wisely, that we're going to focus on the things that matter. And ultimately, I'm more responsible for making sure we are in the black with our books, but I definitely am wanting to see the vision that a lot of these great candidates have, and willing to work with them, and hopefully we can come together and accomplish the things that everybody's wanting, and that is to win elections. And regardless of the path, let's strengthen what we have, and I'm excited to be a part of it for the next couple of years.
Thank you. All right, we all have individual attributes. My wife doesn't know this yet. My attribute is I've been driving by general aviation airports, looking for hangar space and airplanes, okay? So what is your one best attribute, and how will that help you in the position you're seeking? Chadwick.
Thank you, Rob. I would have to say my best attribute is that of leadership. Having spent a lot of time in the military like yourself, the military definitely prepares you and trains you for leadership positions and then tests you in those roles. The military definitely has a lot of core values surrounding honor and integrity and code, and those types of things that get ingrained into us guys in the military, guys like yourself and I. That hardens us to be the leaders that we need to be to get tough jobs done, make tough decisions, and then we're tried and true in those positions. So leadership would definitely be the attribute that I would name there.
Thank you. Derek.
I'm a musician. Does that count? Okay, maybe not. Okay, but
He's
that's
fundraising.
There we go.
Fundraising.
Exactly.
Right.
For
It's
fundraising, we could
Some
do
bread
that.
in the jar.
I've got a yeah, exactly. So I think one of my, if I had to sort of look at my attributes, and this is one of those kind of weird things of sort of patting yourself on the back a little bit, but I think bringing people together with differing views. I did this as a legislator. I had one particular bill that was trying to solve a really difficult issue where we literally had county governments, state governments, law enforcement, legislators, mental health professionals, all in different corners and all fighting against each other and all angry, and then press was involved. And I was able to bring everyone together and create a solution that actually worked. And it now is the law, and it's the law to this day. And so I think if I have one attribute of that I think would help most in this position, it is that of being someone that unifies people. I mean, as I've talked to delegates, I do hear a lot about different issues, and we hear about the caucus system and that sort of thing. But you know, if there's one thing that I've heard, and I'm sure you've heard it as well, everyone wants to unify. I mean, almost everyone I've talked to, the first thing they say is, how do we bring our party together? What's the trick? What's the magic formula? And I think that's, in terms of attributes, that's one thing that I have to offer.
Great, thank you, Jerry. Aaron?
Yeah, I agree. Convening people in the state is going to be key moving forward, and I would say that the attribute to me that stands out is that I have a fresh perspective. All of us can talk about bringing in college students and things, but the reality is that it hasn't happened very well here. As a college student, I was picked by the White House to represent the state of Utah and speak at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce on political involvement and bridging the gap between higher education and the private sector. While I was in college, our campus won the Get Out and Vote Challenge by the Lieutenant Governor at the time. Lieutenant Governor Bell had done that. And, I understand how the recruiting process works. I've been plugged into it, and I've led it here in the state. And I don't think that anybody out of the 862 delegates I've spoken with, and I've kept track, all of them feel like we're not growing. And that's pretty telling of how people feel. And I've got to say, I don't feel like we're really growing either in the state. And so it's going to be key that we get someone in here who's very aware and focused conscientiously on bringing young talent to the party and developing that talent so that we have a party in years to come.
Okay, thank you, Kara.
I hate these kind of questions. I'm like, well, let's see what's not going to sound conceited.
You have to talk about yourself.
I'm really bad with self-promotion, so this
That's a good quality.
basically that's my attribute. I would say probably fair. As a basketball official, I have to know the rules really well, and I have to make sure that not only do I play by the rules, but everybody else on the court, the other officials, and my both teams and the coaches, that we're fair and that we come together and, hey, I can explain the rule and we're okay with it, okay? We're all going to follow the same rule. I know you don't like that call, but by book, this is why we do what we do. It's a principle of fairness that I think is probably my best attribute.
When she gets upset, T, you're out of here. Lisa.
Well, if we're pertaining just to the role that we're looking for and seeking to be elected to, it'd probably be detail-oriented. So I actually have gone through all the historical documents, and I've been around for quite a long time in this process. I've run campaigns. I have been a candidate myself, a lot of times as far as for party office, but I actually ran for the legislature one time back in 2008. I lost by 2 votes in convention, but I was grateful for the experience because I learned what it was like to be a candidate. And I don't know how many other people here have been candidates, but to be able to help candidates, sometimes it's good to know and to walk in their shoes. And sometimes it's great to be a campaign manager and a consultant. And I've done that 20 years, I think 20 years. My children have been raised knocking on doors. And so detail-oriented with minutes, with the roster that I've kept, and what I call the secretary's report, I think that's probably where my best attribute to serve in the secretary role is.
Thank you. Kendra.
So I'm a soccer mom. That's mine. No, I'm just kidding. But I think mine is I can get along with just about anyone. So I'm not the type of person that's going to have a hot head or anything like that. I recently was the president of a bipartisan women's organization. If you can imagine, there's a lot of differing opinions in that group, and we're all strong women, and we definitely all have our own opinions. And just keeping all of those people on the same page and going in the same direction is a feat among itself. And so getting along with people, whoever's elected in this group, I plan to work well with them, whether it's, it doesn't really matter to me because I can get along with anybody. And I think that in this role of secretary that it's going to take getting along with everyone and trying to further the basics of the party, which is getting good Republicans elected and promoting our conservative values. And that's probably my best attribute.
Mike?
Well, relating to this role, I think I feel I'm pretty balanced. And I think being balanced personally and also with a budget is an important thing. And one of the things that I do enjoy is being able to see a lot of different viewpoints. We all are different in kind of what we are wanting, our future. But again, that doesn't mean that we can't work together. And I like to be a lot more proactive than reactive when it comes to situations that we're dealt with. So relating to here, I feel like I'm a pretty balanced person.
Okay. Next question, I'm going to get a little bit more specific. So about a month ago, I went down to BYU and I spoke to some students who are looking at, it was a class about community involvement engagement, okay? And they asked a bunch of questions, and I drew up some charts on the wall and talked about partisan politics and all those kind of things. And one of the students looked at me and he said, why should I participate in that when it's so contentious when I can just be unaffiliated? And I explained to him that if he wanted to participate in the Republican Party, that there was a huge selection process going into the primary. And the candidate from that was very important, and that he needed to participate in that to jump over. So we've got a problem, and I don't expect you guys to know the numbers yet. You will, whoever gets elected. But in Utah County, or in Salt Lake County last year, 230,000 unaffiliated voters voted. 200 Republicans voted in the last election, and 100,000 Democrats. So 2-to-1, we outnumber the Democrats, but we're outnumbered by the unaffiliated voter. How do we court that unaffiliated vote and win elections? Chad?
It's a good question, Rob. So, real quick, back to your point about the student's answer about contention and why would I want to get mired in that. It reminds me of ancient Greece, up in a place called Mars Hill, where all the philosophers would go up in Athens and they would debate, and it would be very contentious. And as you know, part of our republic is based on the Greek model, and I think debate, even if it's a little heated and hairy, is good. That's how the best product, the best idea can come to the fore and be decided on. I just think there needs to be a little bit more ground rules in how we do that debate, and then of course there has to be compromise. And so I think if we as a party can draw in the left and right limits a little bit more clear and stick to these ground rules and actually have compromise and come out with good ideas, we can then take those to the unaffiliated voters in a more comprehensive, cohesive fashion and explain to them that that's how things work and this is how we get the best ideas and we're the best party to govern the state, and they should join our team.
Thank you. Derek?
Right, thanks. And what's funny is I think I've spoken to that same class. I'm on a board, a civic education board there, and I've taught at BYU for the last 10 years. I've taught a legal and ethics class. Don't hold that against me, those of you who are not Y fans. But I've taught this class for about 10 years, and I've interacted literally with thousands of students. And we've talked law, we've talked policy, we've talked ethics, and I'm hearing the same thing. They're not, like, we need to reach the college age, and we're not doing that. And everyone's sort of intuitively, Republicans here, we know that, but the reality is we need to give them a reason to be Republican, and we're not giving them that reason. We need to be able to articulate what it means to be conservative and to do it in a way that is appealing, because right now the rising generation, there's almost cachet in being unaffiliated, right? I mean, there's almost sort of this feeling of, hey, I don't need to belong to any sort of group. I can be unaffiliated. I'm independent. No one tells me what to do. But part of that is because we haven't explained what it means when we have what the free market does. We haven't explained the concepts of individual liberty and contrasted them appropriately with socialism. We haven't shown the reason that conservative principles work. And so one of my main, if I have to kind of focus on one area, I mean, number one, we have to ask ourselves, why are we losing Republicans, right? Because we've also had Republicans, my understanding is about 10,300 Republicans in the last 2 years have unregistered as Republican and re-registered as something else, we need to ask ourselves, why? Like, what is it that we are not doing that we should be doing? And I think part of that is creating a compelling message of what it means to be conservative, what it means to be Republican, and why they should be Republican.
Thank you, Derek. Eric?
Yeah, well, I just echoed, Derek's thoughts there. I think it's really a question of identity. As I'm speaking with delegates statewide, my impression is that we've forgotten where our identity comes from. It's not from the caucus. It's from our platform. And, this may sound very cliche, but everyone's a Republican. They just don't know it yet. Because, students who are in their 20s and even adult students working and supporting families, free enterprise, free thinking, family values, all of those things are important to everybody within the state. But those aren't the things that we're out promoting. And so it's the message we're promoting, and then second to that is the manner in which we go about educating our own delegates. When I'm at county conventions, I receive questions like, what are you going to do to fix the potholes in my road, from delegates? Well, I'm not an elected official. That needs to be handled with the mayor, is my response. But that is very telling of the level of engagement and education that our delegates are receiving. And we have 4,000 delegates. That's a huge sales force, a quote-unquote sales force, of people that are out representing the brand of being a Republican. And it's great. I love the Republican Party. I think everyone will love the Republican Party. We've just got to be able to articulate it in a way that makes sense for them right now.
Thank you. Karen?
Well, for me, when I've gone out and met with people, particularly people who are on the fence of whether I really want to be Republican or not anymore, they have said that they just don't feel like there's room for them in the party. Their ideas, their philosophies maybe not match 100% with the platform. And they don't feel comfortable or that they're welcome and wanted. I think that falls back on county leadership, state party leadership, all of us as Republicans. We need to be better at educating people on the role of the party, but also having meetings and town halls and training opportunities and educational nights where they can come and know, hey, no, we want you here. We want you to run for a state delegate, and here's how you're going to do it. We want you to be a precinct chair. Here's how you do it. We want you and your ideas and your opinions. They're Republican. So let's get you elected if you want to run. There's so many people who called me and said, hey, can you talk to me about maybe running for office? I might be interested, but I have no clue how to do that. And if I'm even someone anyone wants to hear from. So many people have good ideas on how to help our state and our nation, and they don't feel like anyone wants to hear from them. And we as Republicans and as party officers should be the first ones saying, no, come, sit down, talk to me. Let's see if it's a precinct chair, or maybe it's your county commission, maybe it's your school board. Let's talk about where we can best use you and your capabilities in our community, because your voice, no matter how broad it is on Republican principle and scale, your voice matters to all of us. And a couple weeks ago, Vincent, thank you for coming, he came here with a few guys, college Republicans from the U, and they'd never gone to a Republican training that was geared towards what do you need, what information and advice can we give you. And as he and the others told us about what they're going through on their campus as Republicans, 20 college Republicans came to their last state convention. They don't feel like anyone cares about them as college students and Republicans in our state. And that's got to change, and that's something that we've got to work towards fixing for Vincent and all of his friends.
Thank you. Lisa?
Okay, so for the secretary's role, and that's really kind of a behind-the-scenes role. However, when I was a secretary in 2016, I joined what we call the Trump Task Force. And the reason why is because people didn't understand why to vote for a Republican for president. And we had people voting for an unaffiliated candidate and other people voting for the Democrat. So I went out and I promoted our platform. That's exactly what I was going to talk about. Promoted the platform and let people understand that a Republican candidate is held to the platform. That's what delegates do. That's what voters do. We hold them to the platform of what we have created. We haven't adjusted our platform since 2009. So I think we need to take a look at that because there's some more things we can do to be more inclusive with the voters. The response that I got was very good. People finally understood, okay, maybe this candidate isn't my first choice, but if we don't get the electoral vote in the state of Utah, it could possibly go to the Democrat. So I was telling them, these are the principles we have in our platform. Now, this is what our candidate on the national level is saying. they're the same. Please vote Republican. These are the reasons. So we have to give them I think it was Derek that said we have to give them a reason. So I have a lot of experience in that, and I would love, just adding with what everyone else has said, we have to focus on that big picture. We have to have a Republican president, in my opinion, to be able to enact the things that our platform says. But that starts on a local level. I know Kendra's probably going to talk about that. On a local level, in our counties, in our precincts. As a precinct chair, I need to make sure that the people understand why to be a Republican. That's how we take the unaffiliated voters. We have registered voter lists. We can go and we can court them. We can give them a reason to be Republican.
Kendra.
Thanks. So how do we get more registered Republicans? In my county, we did a lot of successful programs to do just that. We went to the schools. We take elected officials to every high school in my county, and we would talk to the students about what conservatism is and about what the free market meant. What does an elected official do? And teach them about that process. And then our elected officials would ask them for suggestions on bills. And so we did that. And then after that, we would invite the students to our Lincoln Day dinners. We'd sit them right next to the elected officials so that they could talk with them, and they could and they'd say, hey, I remember when you came to my school. And they could have a real conversation with other adults around the table to discuss what those conservative values are. I remember when I was young, I was probably 18, and my parents were both Democrats, and I didn't know what the differences were between the two parties. So I attended both the Democrat and the Republican caucuses. They were on different nights at this time. And I went to the Democrat caucus, and it was lovely, but I didn't feel anything too much. But I went to the Republican caucus, and the first thing that they did on their agenda was read the party platform. And for me, that was a defining moment, because I knew that I'd found my home, because I identified with every line of that platform. Even though I didn't know that at the time, beforehand, I knew that I was a Republican because I came to that caucus night and they read that platform. I think there's a lot of other ways that we've done that outreach in Carbon County, and I think we can do that across the state as well.
Thank you, Kendra. Mike.
I think it's important to think about one thing, and that is, yes, we do have a lot of unaffiliated voters, especially with our young generation. The thing that's hopeful to me is that a lot of these unaffiliated voters are voting Republican. That's one of the things that I have seen. We have a lot of closet Republicans that are, whether it's not wanting to be involved in contention or have it known to their friends or family what it is that they truly believe in. We do have a lot of voters that do care about the Republican Party. And so the question really is, how do we take them, get them to honor it and respect it to the fact that they want to be a Republican. They don't care that they file, they're not ashamed of it, they can go public with it. And I think there's no question that we have to trust them. And, I look at it as someone that is still younger, and kind of my involvement in the Republican Party and going around to conventions and talking to a lot of delegates. I think one of the biggest questions that was asked me is, what makes you qualified to be treasurer? You haven't been a treasurer before, have you? You're not running a bank. You're not a CPA. Great questions. I mean, one of the things, I can tell you I'm more qualified than my opponent. That's for sure.
But on a limb there, aren't you?
Pretty bold.
But there's no question that, we've got to understand that these 28-year-olds, 29-year-olds, I mean, they're still early in their life, early in their career. And if we expect them to have all of this experience, and when so many people here that are running have so much experience, it's amazing to see. We need that. We need that for strong leadership, but we cannot discount what these young people have to offer because they have not been involved into that level. And I would say there's no question that there's a couple of us here that represent a lot of the millennial society here in Utah. And trust is the number one thing. We have to be able to trust them and not grill them for not having enough experience in the caucus system of being a chair, being a precinct chair, being a VP in their company that they run. We have to be understanding that they can develop those attributes, and we need to be there to support them.
Thank you, Mike. I'm going to turn a little bit here. I'm actually going to lecture to you guys, okay, for just a minute. Thank you for your willingness. You have no idea how much time and involvement this is unless you've held a position in the party. And it's thankless, and there's time and expense that you give to that, and I want to thank you up front for that. I'm looking forward to getting mine back, by the way. But the other thing is we have this caucus and convention system, and the caucus system is uniquely built to help do all the things that we just discussed: recruit candidates, assist them in their campaign, and do those all the things that get Republicans elected, that market our platform. All of that is built in that caucus system. And so when you, for those of you who will be elected, when you get into those positions, your efforts you'll be focusing on how do you energize that system, okay? And you're going to have to balance it with, you're going to need financial resources, you're going to need staff in here, you're going to need committed volunteers out there and a good relationship with all of them. And the things that we've seen fall down, especially in Salt Lake County, was the grassroots precinct level involvement. We needed our precinct officers in Salt Lake County and in other areas to be more active and more involved, okay? And so I think my lecture here is make sure you reach out to all these good people out there that are working behind the scenes who really want to support you and can support you and do the right things, okay? So the last question I'm going to ask you is, and that way people can leave here and go to your own personal campaign pages to get more information about you. So if you just want to go down the line, we'll start again with Chadwick, but if you want to go down and direct people to where they can find more information or contact you to ask more in-depth questions and get clarification, let's do that. So Chadwick.
So I have a website. It's UTGOP4Chadwick.com, and that's all spelled out, UTGOP4Chadwick.com, and there you can find all the phone numbers and emails and social media handles to reach out to me further.
Great, thank you. Derek.
Great, and my website is Derek, D-E-R-E-K is how you spell it, derek.vote. And I have all my contact information is there.
Thank you.
Great.
Aaron.
Thank you, and thank you for that message. It really resonates, I think, with a lot of us. I have a website as well. I'd invite everyone to go and view that, electstarks.com. Again, one word, elect, STARKS.com.
Thanks again for this opportunity. I know you guys are super busy with convention. My website is Kara Birkeland. It's K-E-R-A, Birkeland, BIRKELAND.com. And you can call me at area code 406-570-2183. Thank you.
Thanks, Kara. Lisa.
So you can go to my website, which I said before, but you can go a couple different ways. So you can go lisamshepard.info or Lisa Shepherd, which is just a little easier, .info. But you're going to have to spell shepherd like it's in the Bible, S-H-E-P-H-E-R-D. And my number's on there as well. It's right at the top. I'm happy to give it to you now, 801-787-8211. And I'm enjoying the hundreds of phone calls and hearing from the delegates. Thank you.
Thank you. Kendra.
You can find me on Facebook at Kendra Seeley for GOP Secretary. Or you can call me. My number is 435-630-7581.
Thank you. Mike.
Well, first of all, thanks for taking the time to watch this and get to know us more. You can get a hold of me at electmikebird.com. You can also call me at 801-425-5614.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate your participation. They will eventually too. Thanks for your hours, your sleepless night. I look forward to an all-nighter on May 3rd. And come ready, bright-eyed on May 4th, and we'll go from there. So I think it's Naked Gardening Day as well.
On that note,
It is.
Just
And May the 4th.
Thank
and
you.
Star Wars.
May the
Day,
4th
so-
be with you.
There-
May the
that-
4th, don't forget the date.